Join me and come and learn how to make this sweet pumpkin bunting. You can make the little pumpkins for coasters, you can do it in any weight yarn, and they're super easy. Let's get started. Well, here are our little sweet pumpkins to make into bunting for a great Halloween or just for fall, for Thanksgiving, just to brighten up your autumn look. You can hang them anywhere you like in the house. You can make them as coasters, and although I've made these in a super chunky weight yarn, you can make them in any weight yarn and it'll still work. I'm using Paintbox yarns, WoolMix super chunky, nice big good twisted yarn, but you can make it in any nice bright orange that you like, or in muted shades or different shades. And I have hung my little pumpkins on a chain just made with some more WoolMix super chunky in coffee bean. So let's get started, and I'm going to show you how we make this little pumpkin. Now I'm using a 10mm hook with my Paintbox WoolMix super chunky because that's the size hook that this yarn requires. So if you're using something else or a different weight yarn, and there are lots of Paintbox weight yarns you can use, chunky, Aran, DK, whatever you like, make sure you use the right hook for the size. And we're going to start with a magic ring. Now there are two ways you can do this. If you don't like doing a magic ring for the beginning of the pumpkin, you can chain 4 and slip stitch to make a circle and put the stitches in. I'm going to do a magic ring because I like the way it pulls the centre in really tightly. So to make a magic ring, what we do is we take the working at the end of the yarn, the tail of the yarn, over your hand, and take the working yarn and take it across in an X over your fingers like that. So I've got the tail of the yarn facing this way. Then I'm going to take my hook, I'm going to put it under the first loop, and then grab the second loop with my hook end there. I'm going to grab it and twist it round so that it's like this. Then with my other fingers I'm going to hold on to the ring behind and grab the working yarn with my hand there. So I've got the loop sticking up like that, the working yarn just in my back fingers here, and the tail of the yarn is forward. Now, it's very important when you're doing a magic ring for the next sort of bit that we do, that you work your stitches over both strands of this yarn. So I'm going to chain 1, and that kind of secures the ring for you. And then I'm going to work 10 single crochet US, double crochet UK into the magic ring. So I'm going to put my hook in and pull up a loop, yarn around and pull through those 2. So that's the first one. Second one, third one. And notice that I'm sort of running a bit out of room at this point, so I'm just going to slide these stitches along like that, out the way. So that's 3, 4, 5, 6, and again getting a bit tight, so I'm going to slide these stitches along like that. That's 7. Let me have a little count up. And this is how we count. Just count the V's on the back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That was 9 and 10. Now let me just recount that to make sure that we've got the right number. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Ooh, one more for 10. So when you have 10 single crochet US, double crochet UK into your magic ring, hold the loop that you've got there, the sort of live loop, and pinch it, And then we're going to pull the tail of the yarn, and as you pull it, it's going to start to pull the magic ring in until it closes like that. That's why it's such a good way to do it, so that you don't get a hole in the middle. That will come a little bit looser as we work along, but we will tighten it at the end. So the next thing to do is to slip stitch into the first stitch on your round. And this is somewhat tricky. I just want to share with you, because it's quite tight and I've got a very big hook, you really do have to jam it in a little bit with this first one. 1 and oops, 2. And it's because we've pulled it nice and tight to get the nice circle. And then to slip stitch, so you've got those on the needle, on the hook, sorry, yarn around and pull through both. Notice that's come a little bit undone, but if I pull the tail, it tightens up again. And what we'll do at the end is to stitch that safe. Right, let's get ready for round 2. The next thing we're going to do is to work 3 chains. 1, 2, 3. And I'm going to put a UK treble, US double crochet into the next stitch. There. Now, into the next 3 stitches, we're going to put 2 US double crochets, UK English trebles. Yarn over into the next stitch, just through the V there. 1, 2. And you can see this is quite tough going, because it's super chunky yarn going into a small space, but it's really worth it. 1, 2, into the next stitch. I'll just show you how this is looking. So we have the chain 3 and a double crochet, then 2 double crochets, 2 double crochets. Those are US double crochets, English trebles. And then the last one here, we do 2 more into this next stitch. 1, 2. Now, that forms one side of the pumpkin. And to give it its signature sort of dimple there, what we're doing is we're going to put a slip stitch into the next stitch. So we do that by just taking the hook and putting it straight into the next stitch, and then you grab the working yarn from behind, pull it through, and then pull this stitch through this one. Just a regular slip stitch there. And you can see that's brought us round in a really nice curve. Now in the next 4 stitches, we're going to work the same as this side, 2 double crochet US, 2 trebles UK into each of the next 4 stitches. Yarn around into the next stitch and pull up a loop, yarn over 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and we'll do the same thing again into the same stitch. And remember, the pattern for this is in the description, so you don't have to memorise it. 2, and then another 2 in the next 2. These are really quick to make. I think you could probably make about 7 or 8 per ball, so you can calculate how many pumpkins you get out of a ball. I would say 8. So it's 2, 4, 6, 2 more in the next stitch here. 1, 2. And now we've worked the second half of the pumpkin. And to create the dimple in the top, what we do is we're going to do another slip stitch right into this stitcher there. So put your hook into the stitch and just pull the yarn through, and this one is going to come through this one, like that. Now, I'm going to snip my yarn off, and then to finish it, just bring the tail of the yarn through the loop and pull. And that also gives you a nice sort of tight edge there. See how much that's come open since we've been working on it. All I have to do with my magic ring is just to pull it, and that will come into the middle again. And when we sew the ends in, we'll stitch it in nice and firmly. So that's the orange part of the pumpkin. Okay, let's add the stalk. So I've got my coffee bean, and I'm going to put my hook in and pull a loop of the coffee bean through the hole. There we go. So now I'm going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we're going to slip stitch to join that back again. So go back into the same stitch, pull up a loop and slip stitch through, and just make that look a bit harder. So what you've created is a loop there for hanging the bunting. I'm just going to snip that off now and bring the tail through the loop and then pull to secure. Now that is the little stalk, but to make it all look a lot tidier, we're going to go onto the back and we're going to tighten up all these lost ends. So let's start by really pulling to tighten that middle there. Now I've got my yarn needle, and it's quite chunky yarn to get through one of these needles, but there we go. I'm going to sew this end in nice and tightly just into the back of the stitches here. So we just take it through, sew it nice and tight, and that way the hole won't open again. And then I'm just going to go back a little bit to secure. There we go. Snip that off. Now with the stalk, there we've got our little loop, and the reason I've made a loop is so that you can hang your bunting onto either, I've made a chain here of the coffee bean to hang my bunting on, but you could use ribbon or anything you like. A single strand of jute would look really nice, or any kind of rustic thread. I'm going to tie a knot in my coffee bean ends to make that a really nice tight loop. So I'm going to just sew in these 2 ends nice and securely, and I shall meet you back here again. Okay, so I've sewn the ends in the back. You can see a little tiny bit there, but you could poke that in. And there's the little loop. So if I wanted to add another pumpkin onto my brilliant bunting, my spooky bunting there, I can just poke the end of the yarn through and just add another one. So that is my gorgeous spooky bunting. Well, it doesn't have to be spooky, it could just be a beautiful Thanksgiving pumpkin. An autumn fall pumpkin for the gorgeous Thanksgiving months. So there we are. I bet you had no idea that was going to be so quick. You get at least 8 of these pumpkins out of 1 ball of Paintbox WoolMix Super Chunky. And then you just need the coffee bean to make your stalks. And don't forget, you can hang the pumpkins on a piece of string or a piece of jute or ribbon and make them more Halloweeny. You can embroider on them. You can make them as fancy as you like. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel for lots more tips and techniques and fun projects. And we'd love to hear how you got on with the pumpkins. Happy crochet! Well, happy pumpkins!